Hi, I'm Zack Johnson, and with me this morning is Mr. Stephen Ahaus, principal of Franklin Community High School. How are you doing, Mr. Ahaus?
Good, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us this morning and taking time out of your schedule. So, if you don't mind, I would just like to ask you some questions about yourself, your career, and the 2020 and 2021 school years.
Yeah.
All right, so how long have you been an educator?
I'm starting my 21st year. I graduated from what was Marion College before. It's Marion University now. And came straight to Franklin from there. So I taught math for 12 years before moving to the middle school as assistant principal over there, and then principal for a few years, and then back at the high school as principal here. This is my 4th year here as the principal back at the high school.
Awesome. So when did you decide that you wanted to become an administrator?
I enjoyed teaching, so I didn't really step out of the teaching world because I didn't enjoy it, or I wasn't. I was coaching, coached cross country and track, and coached baseball when I first got here. I played baseball at Marion College as well, but I stepped into department chair position and kind of some leadership roles in the building and started to get more involved, and thought, well, I'd go back and get my master's degree and get that in educational administration. And so I wasn't really seeking to jump out of the classroom, but then shortly after I got my administrative license, a position opened up as assistant principal at the middle school, and I thought, well, that'd be a good opportunity to do that. And so that just kind of then stepped into the administrative world. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So in those 21 years of education, this one has definitely been a unique one. So why don't you tell me what kind of things were going through your head last year in the spring when schools started to shut down as our country entered the coronavirus pandemic?
Yeah. A strange time, and I've thought a lot about that, as we come up on almost the 1-year anniversary of all that happening. It was just strange being in conversations. I know we kind of started to hear some whispers of look, we may need to shut schools down, which was a foreign concept to most of us. I mean, we hadn't really experienced that for any reason, and then all of a sudden we're shut down. And I think at the time the conversation was, well, let's get through spring break, and after spring break, we'll take another look at it. And then of course over the next few weeks we started to realize that, okay, this is going to be an extended amount of time. I think even at that point, even through the end of last school year, I didn't envision, at least, that we would be a whole year. And I know there was a lot of information out there, and we're still trying to sort through it. So there might have been some people that were, saying this is going to be a long time. But I think for most of us, we're thinking, okay, we're going to get through this next school year. But then as each month went by, we, just started to see this is just going to really take us a while to get through. Yeah. So it's been very strange, and the thought process is, I think like everybody just kind of roller coastered through, okay, it's looking better, okay, it's not. And it's been a roller coaster ride for sure.
Yeah, and we've definitely had to adapt a lot. So what kind of things were put in place last spring for the seniors, such as graduation and just senior recognition?
Yeah. I think we tried our best to do what we could within the framework of what we knew and what safety precautions we had to put in place. So it felt like a scramble. We were trying to do everything we could, just like teachers were in the classroom, and students were trying to, move quickly to get stuff done and try to learn from a different mode. But we did have senior awards recognitions. We did those virtually. So some of them were just programs we put together and then just sent out the link so people could watch them, that we just did as administrators. A couple of them we did live, so on a Google Meet, and got all the students on there and their families, and then kind of talk through a ceremony like we would normally have it. So we kind of did a couple different things there. We did a car parade through the city of Franklin, which was really well received, which I thought was a great event. And at the end of that car parade, we did a recognition for our students who were going into military service. So we were able to kind of do a little program for them at the end of that. But that was on the day we were supposed to graduate, because we moved graduation back to mid-July. So we were able to put that car parade together. And then, of course, we moved graduation and we're able to pull that off. But so we were able to do some things for seniors, not quite all the things that we normally did. But, the car parade's one that, we've had some requests to see if we could kind of make that a tradition, because I think people enjoyed that so much as an event. So we're currently looking at what can we do to maybe continue that as a tradition going forward. So there have been some positives come through that.
Definitely.
But
Yeah.
it definitely felt like we were just trying to figure out how to do the best we could at the end of last semester. So.
Awesome. So obviously we couldn't plan for the shutdown last year. It just kind of happened out of the blue and we had to roll with it. So what was the summer like as an administrator planning for the 2021 school year and planning for remote learning and all of that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it was the most difficult summer that I've been through in terms of, usually a summer is, we're hiring a few new teachers, kind of planning, what are some fun things to do when we get back to school, what are some curriculum things we need to get ready. But it was really busy. I mean, every plan that we put in place, and we're still in this mode, every plan that we put together really requires about 3 or 4 different plans. So, when we were planning graduation, we had to plan, okay, what if we can do this? What if we can only have students? What if we can invite 2 parents? What if we're not allowed to do this? What if we're allowed to do this? So that we had to plan. We're still planning through graduation all through the summer. Then the back to school, there were just so many unknowns in terms of would we be back? How many kids will we have back? Will we be all in person? What kind of safety things do we have to put in the classrooms? How do we space out lunch? So every little step of coming back into the building was like a process into itself. How are we going to pull off PE and weights? How do we pull off band and choir? What do we do at lunches? And everything took time. So it was the whole summer. And so every time then, whether it was a state or local level, would say, okay, now we're going to change this or we're going to move to this. Like that would reset our whole plans. And so learned a lot from it, and I think there's things that we'll pull from it that we've put in place that will really help us in the future.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of time, a lot of energy. I use that word roller coaster because there were times where it'd be like, oh, we're ready, we've got this, and then all of a sudden it'd be like, oh my gosh, it just fell apart. Now we got to restart. And so it was a rough summer, and parents and students wanted answers, and I really appreciate how patient they were through all of it. But people want to know what school's going to look like. They want to know what they're going to be able to do. So people wanted answers, and at times there just weren't answers to be given. It'd be a lot of maybes, or we'll let you know soon, and things like that. So that can be a stressor too, because you understand why people want to know, but sometimes there just weren't answers, and we're still in some of that spot now. So
I'm glad to hear you seem to you're pulling some positives out of this, and it's really easy to be negative this year. So what kind of things do you think that this pandemic has made our teachers and students stronger?
Well, just on the resiliency part of it, just our personal makeups, I think. I hope that I know I have, just the ability to appreciate being in the building, appreciate our friends, appreciate the activities that we're able to do. And, I think there's just a general sense that maybe we do appreciate our families, being able to see them, be able to be with them. I think that from that side, I hope we're all drawing from that. From a school-wide standpoint, I think we've learned in ways that we can maybe support students when they're not in the building, or support students when they're in positions where they might need us to have virtual materials ready for them or be planned out. So I think there's some academic and curriculum things too that we've learned that could help us too. So I think there's both the personal and the school side that I feel like we will be better moving forward.
I'm glad you brought up that curriculum because I was going to ask, with the pandemic, all of the teachers have been posting all of the assignments online. So do you think that's something that will carry on in the future? So if a student misses a day due to an illness or a doctor's appointment, they'll be able to catch up quickly, and all of their assignments will be right there and accessible for them.
Yeah, I think there's good and bad to being forced into a situation where you really don't have any choice but to create a virtual school. I mean, we had to create a virtual school in a month or two. I mean, so an option for kids to just not be in the building but try to go to school for a year, that's very complicated. Then we have to create a world where students can kind of be in school but not be in school, and then be ready for having all the kids back in school. So I think there are things we've learned that students have expressed to us, parents, from things that have worked, and certainly things that haven't worked that we haven't done well this year, which there's been there's been a list of those too, that, things that we put in place that we thought would work or how it would work, and it didn't work that way. And, so that's unfortunate, but when you get forced into those scenarios, sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
And so our job is to try to improve those as the school year has gone on. And then we are having conversations in both our virtual school, from our hybrid world, from Google Classroom to, whatever it might be. What are the things that we've found that really worked this year, and how can we carry those over? So, something like our week at a glance, which is where our teachers have all the information kind of ready week to week that students can just access. Like, those are the kind of things we're going to ask teachers to continue to do, to update, to have ready. Teachers recorded a lot of lessons, videos. They've collected a lot of materials and things that they can easily put out so that, as resources to what they're already. So when we have everybody back in the classroom, that's the best kind of instruction and learning. But if we have all these resources as well, maybe those are things that students can get to at home, extra videos that could help, extra lessons. We have a lot of stuff at our fingertips now that we would be negligent in not using if we just go to next year and say, well, throw all that away, let's get back to what we were doing before. So I think we'll learn from it.
Yeah, and we've talked about, you and I have talked about the hardships on students and teachers, but what was the hardest part for you?
Well, other than just two things. I mean, seeing kids, seeing teachers, we've tried to limit movement in the building. So I try to do the same thing then, and follow what we're doing. So I haven't been in as many classrooms as I would normally be. I still try to get in there, but it's not the same way. I like to go in and interact with students, see teachers, talk to them more. So I miss the personal like a lot of people do. So that's been a struggle because it hasn't, that's kind of the bucket filler for me, is to get around and see kids, us have events, have convocations, just student activities that are going on. On a more personal level, it's been difficult. You get into education, you want to serve others, you want to answer their questions, you want to have ways to support them, you want to communicate in ways that help people. And so many times since last March, I just haven't had answers for people, and they'll come in and they'll be like, well, this isn't working, or I need this, and I don't like the answer to be like, I can't help that. And that's been frustrating. It's not a good position to feel that. I mean, when you want to help people and you know that your role is to do certain things in a normal world, I could go get answers, I could do this, and sometimes it's like I'm just not allowed to do that, or we're just not capable of doing that. So that's been difficult internally to kind of process that, like, there's a lot of people that have needs and things aren't going well, and I don't really have a great answer or solution. When you're the kind of person that people come to for solutions and you don't have the solutions, it can just internally you struggle with that. So.
Well, we did receive some exciting news last week that Franklin is ditching the hybrid schedule and moving forward into our Phase 4 plan, which is 4 days a week of in-person learning. So were you excited to be announcing this?
Yeah, very excited. And I'm excited because we had seen and continue to see just the improvement of where we are in the building. So we need students back in the building. I mean, from day one, on Monday when everybody rolled in, there's just a completely different energy to the building. Our students have been really good about wearing masks. So have our teachers. Everything that we've asked of the safety, on the safety side of things, our students have been good with. So that will continue. I mean, I'm confident that we can do that, and it's a little bit more hope, towards that. And then just to see students, I've been into a few classrooms where like the conversation seems to be back. So instead of 8 kids sitting in there, now we've got 16. They're still spaced out. We're still maximizing all the space, but it's just that energy in the room is different. And so that's just been good to see. So I was excited, and so far, so good. So
what prompted the school to move forward into Phase 4?
Back in November, we made an attempt to kind of come back, and of course it was just right as we were seeing kind of a surge, and so we ended up going back to our hybrid model. But even at that time, they said whenever the time comes that the county health officials and the data starts going the right direction, we will come back. We'll start bringing students back. So we've known since November that this could happen at any point in time. So we've been keeping an eye and communicating out, and our district's been communicating that too, that whenever that time comes, and and the numbers in Johnson County and in Indiana have really improved. At this point in time, and knock on wood, but I think even in our building, we're getting close to about a month since we've had a case reported in our building. So that's, compared to where we've been the rest of the school year, that's almost unheard of. It's almost hard to believe that we haven't even had that in such a long period of time. But the numbers are just trending in the right place, and vaccines out there. So the county, basically what prompted it was the county health officials saying, like, look, it's good to get back to this. So our district just followed what they said and said, okay, we're going to progress. So we're going 2 weeks with our Wednesdays open just to make sure that all our processes are running smooth. We've got a time to kind of reprogram, make sure everything's going all right, and we're only going to do that for 2 weeks, and then we'll try to get back to 5 days a week. So.
Yeah. All right, I just have one more question for you. What are you most excited about doing as soon as school is back to normal?
Really, it's just, honestly, the sun, the longer days, being outside. I like being outside. So any of our events that will start to move outside, we're talking about prom. That may be something that we have to move outside and try to see if we can host that event. We're going to host graduation outside this year. We did that last year, but we're going to continue that and have it out on the football field and do graduation that way. So I'm most looking forward to just the weather getting better. There's always an energy that comes back to the building when we hit spring anyway. Like, it's just a time where the building kind of comes alive with events, and students you just start to see that energy come back. So I'm just really looking forward to the spring coming and potentially us just getting outside, and if numbers continue to improve, the building getting closer and closer to looking normal. I just think that that spring will just bring that energy back to students, and I just want to. Our students need it. I mean, so do our teachers. They've been through a lot too, and so I'm just looking forward to the spring in the hopes that some of those things will come along.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, FCTV at FCHS. I'm Zack Johnson. Thank you.